Recording in progress.
People like
And this is just a round table.
No, it's good. We're gonna, depending on the contract awarded today.
Okay, now I know.
So it takes Charlie Callan to get all the information in.
Yes. We want unmute, right?
And
Do we
he
need
wants to
chat
wrap it all up.
agreement?
So we'll see, but
And
I
then
know
we come
at
over
least
to the presenters.
the
This is one
disarmament
that I think
portion
has
of it will be
been
wrapped up this week, especially if you
Is
want to do
it
excavator.
sure
Things
to
are
do
days.
Sure. Then when people come in.
It really just depends on what it's like when we get in there. Even though Shelley's type of metro,
But I think that this part of,
there's no
we don't have
report
to do.
trail within that field.
Any? Okay, sorry, I was trying to
No, you're
figure it out.
fine, you're fine. And then at that
I
point,
think that
all
could
we
be a
need to
reason why we're not picking up
do is that.
shafts.
Big screen too.
So it's
Don't
really-
have a virtual presenter.
I don't know why you need, because I was gonna go up there.
You can sit there for walls.
That's what I was gonna do. That was my plan.
Why would I?
See, Kelly? Hard to find employees like that. Why do I need you? Why are you here?
We'll leave that.
Because I was told to.
Amy, what's the name of your
It's
PowerPoint?
under-
Is it the demo one?
Yes.
Yeah, it's the demo.
Yeah.
Okay, we're just making sure.
If you don't have it, I think she has it back.
We
have
got it, we just have to pick it.
That would be it.
You gave it, said, yeah, this looks good. You gave it a stamp of approval.
All right.
We did on the previous.
You're like, "Oh, Marie, I'm
And
in
it's
here."
the ring, it's you just don't look right.
We can edit it, although it's live. So years ago.
I need to-
That's a few years ago.
It might be.
If not,
Some people just don't.
because for some reason when I uploaded it, this one's in there twice.
Amy just said, why do I need you? Why are you here?
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I don't know, because I was told to be.
Okay, we're good. Yeah, because if I have the advancer, Tony can just say, "Are you ready?"
She knows.
Yeah, what's actually. Stuff.
Does this need to be started?
Yes, you're running it now. You're like.
Okay.
I'll put it back on the part. There.
custom made stuff. Here,
It did advance.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
not-
Say no. Well, he did call me this morning and say that half his workers have them wrong.
Here.
What do I do about that?
Don't know.
I think
Finding?
he said,
Aha.
he still has like 2 weeks to get it done.
So.
Well, he has to, wait,
He
when
said
was
they
the
might
first day he
be-
could work?
Aha.
He hasn't
I
started
don't
yet.
need him. Okay.
That's two
Where,
weeks.
where are you planning on?
Second or 23rd to Wednesday.
In here somewhere?
I'm gonna talk from here,
He
so I
should
can
have
see
started 2
that.
weeks ago.
Yeah.
I told you.
Well,
So, will you have like a month or?
I didn't choose him. He should have submitted
They're
the
probably.
hybrid.
I know.
So I was-
On the side.
How do
You
we
mean
get
just
rid
as
of
good
the
as try
hybrid?
if like it come up.
Yeah. Yeah,
How do
that'll
we
be
get rid of
fine.
it?
So we'll just put that here.
Well, I know.
You can't till he doesn't do what he's supposed to do. Just because he doesn't start one day, he can't. He still gets done.
Oh, I know. Well, yeah, if he doesn't get it done,
Make sure you do our document every day it rains, every day it's 6, 7, get the truck started. Since the contract started, because he'll blame it
We
on,
tell you he wasn't coming back.
So you want me to see pictures of the not removed homes
not yet, but I mean,
of when he starts
But-
working?
denote the weather from whatever, 23rd to now.
There's no.
She has a contractor that hasn't started yet. Cold truck.
I was told that they start you.
What does eventually mean? I know, he's gonna-
Well,
Which
he,
one be 8710?
I don't have it in front of me.
I met with him. He said they had ordered a piece from his backhoe. They had the top
That's
up,
what we
and then
thought.
I retracted.
Go
it.
rent these.
And then, I don't know why he didn't work next week. Something wrong with his
Same way,
And then he called me today, and said he won't be here probably this week because one of his workers have them.
Type within boxes, whatever you have to do on that sheet.
It doesn't matter. how we do it.
No, because your description of his being, his putting you off is your picture.
That's what I said. I told her, go back 23rd.
So I can put on the, like, my,
Yeah.
on my
No rain.
inspection log.
It's been good work.
Yes.
They have rain.
It rained when the rain.
Yeah, that was on like Thursday and Friday. wasn't it?
You've already issued your work order, right?
Yeah.
When's completion date?
The 22nd or 23rd.
We still have.
2 weeks.
He has time.
2 weeks from yesterday.
Because in putting you off, he's also putting off these 7.
Well, that's the same. The one that. Can
Can we take them off the list?
Until he does it.
Not until he
Does a great job. Plus he's pretty.
So they look out. for
He said he used to work with the state, the contact.
Sleep.
Yeah.
You got your belly full?
Got my belly. He's better those up.
If I'm not mistaken, I'm also salt trucks.
Yeah.
Or they did at one point. I
They
remember
did.
presentation. That's the lunch time before
He does
this.
a lot.
People are sleepy.
A lot.
Which you should just do.
That's Kelly's buddy.
Um,
Shannon.
Shannon's stuff.
Who?
Who's your favorite person?
The one that's not here?
RD.
In the room.
Not in the room.
That's my new BFF.
Well, your old BFF left, so you have to pick a new one.
My goodness.
Oh, isn't that sad?
It is
I'm gonna
sad.
guess.
We all.
Go work with him. You can go take a shower with him.
Get your mask on. You can't do it.
If you miss him so much,
Oh, no.
just go work with him.
Yeah,
and
you
supply
go.
to the-
We can get you
Yeah,
out.
that requires me to jump across the river.
There's nothing better than a little time.
No, there's not. No. Case.
This is the second time. that
I've
that's
had
happened.
caffeine, so I'm sorry. You know, I'm just not like that.
What we talked about last night? I'm done.
It wouldn't matter if you did.
I'm done trying.
It wouldn't matter if you did. Mark, I expect you to remember more about this presentation than you did about the last presentation we were asking you about. Because I had pictures.
I can't see, I can over.
Uh-huh.
Are you guys doing property management work on? 69? Yeah. Once you guys work on. We're gonna do mountain park with okay.
There's not gonna be a whole lot of forms on here. I'll just block all the forms. Or I'll get more in the project line.
Okay. I can't get it, they can't get it.
Well, when it is, you have to project management.
There's not a.
All the pictures, yeah, they're all the picture pages in the checklist, I think.
A level, I don't know how you'd use a level when the end of it is tailored or rounded.
And then-
That, you know, that kind of makes it difficult to.
Now you can just click on it,
That's
get a
big.
picture, auto side.
Huh?
It's a lot easier.
But this,
He comes in here, I'm one day.
rather than make it super, super boring and have it focus on a lot of forms, it's kind of
Okay.
generalization.
That's the one thing we can do. Well, we keep losing people, you'll be more.
Rob, I had not forgotten your file. registered on my way. It's just really done. Kelly.
District two, they
The permanent monuments up, so still he does that. I'm not.
Yeah.
gonna file. What I'll do is I'm gonna
It's just that
find
two
it.
houses. we should have one, like, for a house and a barn. Yeah. And then the barn. Yeah, one of them. The third. Another house. House is detached, detached garage. Barn. Parcel 600. Right. I don't know. Deputy.
I'll give you a heads up,
Good lady.
but
Step
I
on.
won't physically. like I
It's like a magic carpet ride. Is that who that is?
That's who that is.
All right, you said I'm gonna walk magic carpet ride. Hard to see.
And within that file, it's gonna be more than. The whole thing is gonna be.
You get me a new truck out of it, Kelly? Yeah.
What
What do you need?
I needed a copy.
No, I'd like to have that for you. It doesn't have to be. Okay. Make it work. Yeah.
Yeah, honey crowd. Yeah.
Consider it a corner.
So we waiting on someone?
No. Do we need Michael?
You don't have to have Michael, you can start.
Okay.
He's the glue that holds it all
It's 1
together.
o'clock, it's time to go
Yeah.
ahead.
Okay.
We'll get it wrong.
He's in place.
All right, well, I'd like to welcome everyone to the 1 o'clock session, which is property management process from the, I guess, KYTC and consultant perspective. My name is Mike McGregor. I work for Bacon Farmer Workman Engineering, and I'll be your moderator today. So first, let me introduce our speakers for this session. First is Amy Ishmael. She's been working for the cabinet for 14 years, 9 of which have been in right-of-way, and she's now the program specialist for demolition and grave relocation. And also we have Tony Moore. Tony Moore attended Eastern Kentucky University, where he obtained a bachelor's degree in geography, planning, and a minor in natural resource analysis. Mr. Moore began his right-of-way career with the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet Division of Right-of-Way in 2002. He worked as in District 4 for 12 years as a right-of-way agent and unit leader. He has worked in acquisitions, appraising, excess property transfers, and more notably relocation. Mr. Moore has worked in central office right-of-way and relocation for 7 years and currently holds the position of branch manager for the relocation and property management section. And at this time, I'll hand it off to Amy.
I was here for moral support.
All right.
More or less,
Just
yeah.
looks,
Yeah.
just looks.
Just sit up here and look for any.
Or just support. No more.
He was going to be Vanna White until I realized I have a clicker, so I really don't need him at all.
So I don't even have to push a button.
He is here.
You're gonna stand over there every now and then.
He could. He could.
I could, but probably won't.
Okay, today we are going to talk about demolition again. Those of you in the districts that had this training, it's going to look very, very similar. There's a couple more points I want to touch on. Otherwise, it's just a refresher. And in kind of keeping with the theme, we'll kind of discuss a little bit what we've learned during this pandemic time. We've learned we can do it. With a little bit of tweaking here and there, you know, we can't have mandatory in-person meetings, but we found ways around that. We just keep the project rolling on. So demolition begins at project authorization. We say this because as the project begins, you know, for relocation, you have to produce the ASRR. During that time as a property management agent, you're also going to want to start doing your property management report as well. It's always good to have somebody else to kind of compare notes with. So this is really the best time to get it done. You're also going to have a TC 62201 project summary of improvements attached to your property management report. This is the form that's going to carry you all the way through the property management phase. You'll see you put your parcel number, your description of the improvement that needs to be removed, and then each of the corresponding columns will be filled out through your property management or demolition phase. Now, to get you started, you'll also be submitting a solicitation to me for your demolition. This is a demolition checklist that you're going to go by in order to get that done. Similar to what we do for relocation, this lists everything that's going to have to be included in your packet when you submit your solicitation packet to me. This form and some of the subsequent forms throughout this presentation are not on the forms repository, but if you send me an email, if you don't have them already, I can send them to you. After the property owners have vacated the property, make sure you have the keys, because that way we don't have to break and enter in through a window or a door. But that's when your demolition process can begin. First, you'll do your asbestos inspection request. And as we're ticking through some of the steps, as I've said before, I want you to kind of keep in the back of your mind how much time this is going to add on to being able to get this project cleared. The next is the solicitation package. A solicitation for transportation or anyone has to be advertised for 2 weeks for state-funded projects, and federally funded projects, they're advertised for 3 weeks. So even though you've given me your solicitation, we're not going to see any results for these 2 time spans. This is what the solicitation now looks like, and it is out there on the forms repository. It's a little bit different than what the old one used to be. You'll see that we've condensed everything down to where the only 2 pages that agents have to be concerned about are page 1 and page 2, because those are the only pages that you have to enter your information in on. One thing that's changed over the course of this past year is the section labeled Kentucky 811 before you dig. we have to make sure that all of our contractors for demolition are calling the 811 before you dig hotline. And also are recording the certificate number that they get when they call. This is something that Federal Highways can come back on us in an audit if we don't have it on file. So this is a very, very important section to keep in mind. Did you have anything to that?
We can also, the cabinet can also be fined if this isn't done from the Public Service Commission, can fine us, and those fines $500 to $2,500, I think. So if you start adding those up in several years, not in 2020, 2019, we had several tens of thousands of dollars in fines for not doing this. So that's why this came about. We changed this last year to require that authorization number from BUD. So that is very important that they have that, and the contractor will be fined from us and the Public Service Commission if they don't call the 811.
Now, BUD has its own website, and I encourage all the agents involved in property management to go out there and take a look at it, because they have a brochure that kind of explains the process. In that brochure, it also states you can't call and have your inspection done too far in advance, because if it's done too far in advance, the BUD agents are going to have to come back out and recertify it. Now, within your packet, you're also going to have an estimate. I know for newer agents, that seems a little daunting, because you're thinking, how do I know how much it's going to cost to demo an improvement? Use your resources. Call an agent in another district that's done it before. There are other ways that some people estimate it, but just use your resources within your district and those around you. But within this memorandum, it has your estimate, and it also states whether you do or do not need a mandatory pre-bid meeting. Since we are still in the pandemic, we are not allowed to have mandatory pre-bid meetings. If you do need to talk to your contractor, they can always call you. But I would encourage you again to think outside the box, because get them on FaceTime. If they want to be there on site and they want to FaceTime with you, and you can walk through that parcel and discuss some of the issues that they may have. The other thing you're going to have to include, and Mark, this is where I was telling you, we've done a little bit different. The forms with the pictures, all the headings kind of match all the rest of the forms for the relocation branch. But you're going to go down through here and you're going to put in the pictures of all the improvements on your parcels that need to be removed with a brief description of them. This too is where your knowledge of that parcel comes in handy, because you'll know if there is a well on it or if there's a cistern. Make sure you know everything there is to know about your parcel. You'll also include an aerial. This is really instrumental in telling the demolition contractor what they may encounter as far as traffic issues as they're trying to mobilize their equipment, where the parcel is itself. It's a good tool that they use. You're also going to have a highlighted plan sheet. And again, this is a tool very similar to the aerial that's going to show them everything they could encounter on that parcel as they're doing their demolition. Now, at the close of the bid invitation, all bids will be evaluated, and you'll receive an email stating the dollar amount of the bid, and they'll ask if you want to award that bid. That email comes from purchases. You'll respond with, yes, that is within our budget, and we can award. Now, in some instances, there may be some reason that the demolition contractor bids much higher than what your estimate was. If there's justification for it and it's still within your contract or your budget to approve, you can go on and do that. But again, it would need to be justified. After the bid is awarded, the contractor has 10 days to present their bonding information. So again, this is another 10 days that adds on to your time period to get that parcel cleared. And trust me, they will take their own sweet time. So it could be the full 10 days before they actually get them presented to purchases. Once the bonding information is received, you'll receive an email from purchases saying the contract has been awarded. They'll give you the contract number and all that information. If you don't, there are some new people in purchases. Let me know if you haven't heard from them. I usually watch too. We just need to make sure they're emailing people. Then you have the issuance of your air quality notification. This time period allows the environmental folks to go out and do their inspection as well. But again, this is a 10-day air quality notification, so it's an additional 10 days onto your time period before you can start the demolition. Then you have your pre-improvement removal meeting. With this step, there is a pre-improvement removal meeting form. So as not to make it too boring, I didn't put it in the presentation, but it is out there on the forms repository, and it lists all the information that you need to check off with your contractor. I did put it in here. I was wrong. I thought I took it out. This is what it looks like, and it has all the key points that you have to go over with your contractor, and it also has that section in red where you have to fill in your BUD number. Then you issue your work order and demolition begins. I also have copies of work orders that have been issued in the past, work acceptance letters that have been issued in the past. If no one in your district has copies, please just let me know and I can get those to you. When demolition begins, you need to be prepared because things happen. But again, this goes back to you really, really, really need to look at your parcels. In this particular situation, this gas station had a basement that no one knew about, which cost thousands of dollars more to demo. And it actually ended up having a longer demolition period as well. But if you find issues on your demolition, you need to stop. Anything in addition to the contract that you've already been given, your contractor does not have authority to go on and work on until purchases has issued that amendment to the contract. Pictures documenting the extra work that's needed are necessary in order to have that amendment done in purchases, as well as an estimate from your contractor outlining specifically all the extra work that needs to be done. Whether that's more excavation, more fill, whatever is going to be required for him to get the additional work done, he needs to outline in the memorandum. However, purchases wanted me to point this out. We can only increase a one-time contract by 10% of the original awarded amount. In one of the districts, we had this happen recently that the contractor already started taking care of the additional work. So purchases had no choice but to go on and do the amendment. But going forward, that one-time purchase contract can only be amended by 10% of the original value. Does anybody have any questions about that? Keith?
I don't do it, but what happens if you run into the basic problem?
Astronomical?
Yeah.
We have to present all the information to purchases. At that point, I don't know if they would require the additional work to be put out on a separate contract. I'm really not sure, but we would have to talk to purchases at that time. Good. This is why pre-demolition inspection and planning are crucial. Anytime you have the opportunity to go out and inspect that property, do so. Once your demolition is complete, everything's been done, everything's been restored to grade and strawed, then you issue your work acceptance letter. Once everything's been done, then you'll send your request for payment to me. There's also a checklist to go with your request for payment that outlines everything that I need in order to get that paid. That will require copies of invoices, copies of your pre-improvement removal meeting, copy of your work order. It outlines everything that we need in order to get that processed. Because some of that purchases uses to release the bonds for the contractor. Here you see it's an invoice signed by the contractor and right-of-way supervisor, work order, work acceptance letter, asbestos inspection information, your inspection log. There's also a cleared parcel log where you're going to take pictures of the finished product that show that it's been returned to grade. There's going to be receipts from landfills, in most cases from your contractor. And then you also need to complete the TC 62201. That's where you can fill in all the rest of those columns. If there's some information in those columns that doesn't pertain to your parcel, please put NA. That way we just have a completely filled out form. And then you're also going to have your performance evaluation. This performance evaluation is crucial. This performance evaluation is also what purchases uses to know if they need to flag the demo contractor. If for some reason the demo contractor didn't start on time, had delays that were due to something other than weather. I know Shauna has a contractor that keeps putting off start date because first he needed a piece of equipment. Then something was wrong with his computer. And then another time, I think he just maybe didn't want to start. That all needs to be documented in your inspection log as well as on this performance evaluation. Because if these contractors aren't doing an excellent job for the cabinet, we need to know and we don't want them back.
And I think that's probably one of the biggest questions that Amy and I get are, I have such and such contractor, I really don't want them working, or they're not doing this. How can I get them not to work? Or it's all for your evaluation. You give them an excellent rating and they showed up late, they didn't get done in time, they didn't do this, there's nothing we can do. Our hands are tied. You have to be honest with that. We're not saying give everybody a poor evaluation, but you have to be honest in the evaluations. Not everybody does excellent work. Some may do average or good work, but note that on your form or your evaluation form. That's probably the biggest question we get. It's like, so-and-so is not showing up. Another thing, Amy may get to this later, but I'd mentioned fines for not calling Bud. There's also penalties that should and shall be assigned for late completion if they're not done in time and it's not documented. It's not that if you don't want to fine them, you have to dock them if they don't complete the project in time. That's something that must be done now.
For example, in one of the districts about a year and a half ago, one of the contractors had damage to an adjoining property. His time frame extended well outside of what his work order allowed. By the time all the liquidated damages were applied, he owed us money. And that's okay. If they've done that poor of a job and have had that many issues in doing their demolition work, it's okay that they owe us money because they're never going to work for us again. And usually that kind of teaches them a lesson that they can't get by with it. But document. Shauna was asking where she documents all of the reasons for the contractor extending their start date. On one of those picture forms, you can type in the column where actually your picture belongs. Just make sure it's kind of like your record of contact for acquisition or relocation. The more descriptive you are in your description and the more items that you list, the more reasons we have for liquidated damages. Things to remember. Make sure you're using the correct form. I know I can be guilty of it too. In the very beginning, I would take a form off the forms repository and I would save it to my hard drive. And that's fine, but if you haven't gone out to that form for a while, make sure you're using the current version. Otherwise, it's going to get sent back and it's just going to add to your time. Use the checklist to make sure you are submitting everything that's needed. And when in doubt, ask. Call me, call Tony, call Mary Lou. If we don't have the answer, we will get it for you. Do you have anything you want to add?
No.
Does anybody have any demolition questions? Rob?
What if, thank you. What if, there is a house that is about to be vacated and want to go ahead and start the demolition contract, not sure how long it's going to take to get that last house vacated. And all of a sudden it's clear, we want to add it on to the contract. Is that possible? Is it
No.
possible to modify?
No.
I didn't know if we did that before.
Purchases will not modify it for an addition of that nature. If it's an addition of something that's been undiscovered, like that basement or a cistern that no one knew about, they will do that, but that would be adding more than 10%. So they won't do that.
I got a follow-up question. Oh, sorry. With the design, build, construct program we have up there in Northern Kentucky, we've been running into, I forgot the technical word that Carol, our engineer, Carol Rammer, has put on it, but there's been discoveries that were not disclosed during the acquisition, condemnation usually. And we have to come back and revisit the project to demo typically. Wonder, is that handled typically through our office right away? We can modify that, but that's how we're handling those.
Are you,
Like-
go ahead.
What kind of discoveries are you finding? Like,
Particular 6-14 Richwood project, I think it's 6-18 actually. And there's a TA truck stop that had a 38,000 gallon septic system that was discovered while excavating on a slope along the frontage of this truck stop at the Richwood exit.
how do we miss a
And,
38,000 gallon tank?
It's massive. Yeah,
It's probably been hooked to sewer.
it costs like $150,000 to clean that up. It falls back on the right away apparently to clean that stuff up instead of having a change order. That's what I'm seeing.
And then there again, that's up to the TEBM for design or for construction. In that case, that did fall on right of way to do that. If it's something small and you could put it in the notes that that's to be demoed by the road contractor, if that's something that construction agrees with or design, then you could add it to that. But you can't just do it without telling anybody it's being done. You need to let us know what the situation is so we can evaluate what needs to be done with it. But there again, that's why I stress, make your inspections, make them often, make several before you let that solicitation. Because you don't want this huge issue out there and you don't even have it on your solicitation that's getting ready to be let.
Like Amy said, basically, if your change orders are gonna start to exceed 10%, you're probably gonna start bidding stuff out again. That's gonna delay your projects and lettings, possibly a letting date. We need to make sure we get all this stuff, as much of this up front as possible. You know, walk the parcels as soon as we're done buying them. Talk to the acquisition agents, relocation agent if there was one. Like that basement, the owner of that one, I don't think knew, they didn't even know that was there.
They said they didn't.
Correct. Yeah, they didn't know about it.
Well,
Yeah,
the truck stop, but in that particular situation, supposedly the owner didn't even know about the gas station basement.
Do you know if the truck stop was on sewer? If it wasn't on sewer, that would be a big red flag, like there's gotta be a septic system here somewhere.
Yeah, they weren't.
Another thing,
Figured that's what happened. They built it to the ones that were out there. So we're gonna-
please don't be offended if I ask you a question once you submit your solicitation, because I really just need to get a clear picture of it. I've had a couple solicitations come in with just, I know there's more parcels on that project that are gonna have to be demoed, but it comes in for just one improvement. If I ask you, why are we going on and doing this when I know you have more improvements that are gonna have to be demoed, explain to me that this particular parcel needs to be cleared early or something of that nature. And that does happen, but. Yes. This question is, can you enjoin demo parcels from 2 or more projects on one contract? We recently submitted a very small demolition contract that's unlikely to excite the bidders. We only did so because it was sole demo parcel on the project. I don't think so, because it would make it too difficult. Shannon, have you ever had that situation where you've done more than one project on a demolition solicitation?
Yeah, because the project funds are set up for that project, so I think we really need to keep the demos on for whatever, I don't know where it's just, but whatever the item number is, keep it on that item number so we're not crossing projects. Because of the way the funding's set up.
You could, if it's small.
Yeah, real small would maybe cheaper doing construction, but yeah, we really don't like to do that either. But
If you have a small solicitation and you're sure that there's some demo contractors in your area, that it wouldn't take them long to mobilize, we can put it out there and we can try. Otherwise, it would start muddying the waters too much to try to put more than one project on the solicitation. Any other questions?
I guess this is a question for the right of way supervisor.
Corny.
Thanks, Chad. You're welcome. I guess this is a question for the right of way supervisors. I know at one time there was a lot of problems with this being purchases providing oversight. Is that still an issue? Have things gotten better, or is this still something that we may need to pursue in the future of trying to get this back to the district?
If you want me to start the discussion, I'll admit they're very inflexible. Because from a grave relocation perspective, there are 2 funeral homes that normally bid the contracts. If it's a very small cemetery and do we have to go on and put it out there for bid? I've asked these questions and I get the same answer. So if you have any situations where you feel purchases is inflexible, please just let us know, because we'll probably agree with you. No one?
no, and
Okay.
we don't see it ever as of now with purchases, leaving purchase, come back to right away. I don't know if that's gonna take a lot more than just us to explain to them. It's,
Well, I didn't
Kinda
know if
like-
it was a conversation worth having with the State Highway Engineer's Office again. We had that previous administration, and I thought there was progress being made, but
yeah, I think that went complete 180 back the other way.
And all was that, with the, we're talking 2 weeks, it was maybe, 2 weeks for state, 3 weeks for federal. It was always the time issue,
Yeah.
purchases involvement, that was the big issue when I was working
Mhm.
at KYTC and with the demolition contract. Because, that's one of the things to clear the property.
Yeah. And they are very, very, very inflexible on their timeframes.
They still are.
I've always felt that we could do it better and more efficiently, but, I've done it on the old process and I've done it on the new process through purchasing, we've been doing it for several years now, but it's just my opinion that the division of right of way could do it better if we kind of mirrored our old process, but, there again, that's just my opinion.
And who do we need to get to wrestle it out of the arms of purchases? That's because they're not gonna give it up
That's
quickly.
a million-dollar question.
Conversation that we would have to have in the administration and
Purchases,
include from there.
every time I speak with purchases, they're very helpful. They really are. I have no problem with purchases. They'll lead me in the right direction of what we need to do to get it done per their guidelines. But there again, when we have issues of time,
I know that it's all over the place, but what would you say is just ballpark the average cost on a demo contract that comes through?
an average 20 to 30,000.
And we get a 10% contract model, that's all we can do on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that was.
Yeah.
So we'd be holding these up for
$2,000 or $3,000.
a couple
Yes.
$1,000 is all we got, and they could then delay it by.
Could be, well, yeah, if it's a federal project, you have 3 weeks to bid it, and 10 days for it. Yeah, you're looking at a month
Because you'll have to do
right
other,
there in your air quality. Yeah, you're,
yeah, you'll have to do inspections again,
yeah, so
more
you're,
bud inspections.
yeah, you're month to 2 months for $3,000.
Anybody else?
I mean, the trick would be just get it right the first time, right?
Bingo.
Mhm.
Make sure you do your job, go out, check, see what's there, so we don't have to do contract mods.
That's right. Just don't make a mistake.
All right,
Are you coming to work for KYTC and property management? Chad?
Not yet.
he's still
I
working.
don't
on
want to
it.
shut any opportunities. Don't get me wrong. I'm not closing any doors. It's just not me.
Alrighty. And that is all, folks. Just remember, inspect, inspect, inspect. Be thorough, please. We have several opportunities for a property management agent to go out. If you're not overwhelming the property owner, go out when they do the appraisal. Go out when they do the relocation offer. There's multiple opportunities for you to go out and talk to those property owners without just bugging them.
We have another question. Could a contingency line be added? Or the, I guess like we have on, when we're doing our bids for consultants, we have, say they have 15 acquisition parcels and 5 relocations. We normally give a couple contingencies on that.
That would be a question.
That's like so key
Purchases.
for us because it really does stop the.
Right, so we don't have to do
Something's
it.
gonna happen.
Yes,
I mean, that's not even, that's not even like a mistake issue, just there's things that are revealed that you don't know about.
That
Right.
would change the way all the bids are evaluated. So it's something we'll have to work with purchases on to see.
and that's something that's coming from professional services to purchases, 2 different
Of course.
groups. So
Yeah.
it's like, I don't know if they would allow us to, I mean, it may be something we want to check into
We can.
if we know the average cost to tear down a house, like a 2-story frame house is $7,000, we may have a contingency and have those on there for the, that's something we may be able to look
Right, if
into,
you get
but,
a 1 story, say it's less than that,
right,
you've got more than enough.
yeah, we could have averages on, and we have some data on that, what an average cost, so.
That's a simple, and that's what I'm really, when I do LPA projects, they don't like to do contingencies because the budgets are so tight,
Right,
and we always end up having a problem.
and you have to do a whole contract modification, which takes twice as much time and work. That's why we give, contingencies on the parcels. And I don't know if purchases would allow us to, that's something we could check on, for sure. That may be a pretty easy solution to. I think they're trying to limit the contract mods. So I don't know if they would let us do that or not.
We can always check.
It's free to ask,
That's right.
Anybody else?
Those are free.
All righty.
all day.
If you ever have any questions, just let us know. Thank you.
Thank y'all for the information. I guess that concludes this segment. We'll have another one that starts at 1:50. So let's go get your drink.
Extended body break. I'm turning this off here just so.
Sir.
Do you have any lapel mics?
Never too old to be mature, dude. Never too old to be mature.
Well, if it's not.
Yeah, you went on.
I'm not shining like well. The light went down. That's the light went down.
Like it went to sleep or something.
Maybe. Good idea.
That's fine. Never mind. That's my
Huh?
fault.
Was it you?